Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Thought Life. So the last video we did was on self-esteem, and we talked about how it's a better option than seeking to boost up your own ego. Basically, is to live in humility, is to care about others and treat them as more important than yourself, and to ultimately find your fulfillment in God and His love for you in Christ, despite your performance. And that is always with you, no matter how you perform or what others think of you. So, in this video, we're kind of at a changing point here. So, all the videos that we've done so far have kind of had a theme, right? And so we talk about cultural ideas, cultural philosophies, phrases that are used in the culture, and then we talk about a biblical alternative, right? And so far, there's kind of been a theme in all of that, where the idea is a lot of the culture has us focusing on ourselves and looking inward and then sort of projecting that outward. And a lot of the biblical worldview actually has us looking to God first, and then to how we can help others, right? So it has us kind of looking to God and then outward, and then trying to think of ourselves less, more so than thinking of others, right? And so from your truth to my truth, where you look inside and decide what reality is for you, and then you sort of say, well, my reality is separate from your reality, and you have to accept my reality, even if it contradicts, actual reality. From authenticity, where I have these feelings inside and I've got to let them out, despite what they might do to you. And to self-esteem, looking inside to boost up yourself and make yourself feel better, versus looking outward and seeing how you could help others. So those are all sort of the culture sort of says look inside and decide what you want to do and project that outwards, where the Bible would say more look outside yourself, stop thinking about yourself. Okay, now we're gonna kind of do something a little backwards or a little different than what we've been doing so far. So today we're going to sort of talk about the opposite, which we're going to talk about personal responsibility versus collective responsibility, okay? And one of the themes of our culture today is to sort of look at us collectively. And not only that, but to blame the collective versus looking at our own responsibility. So actually today I'm going to advocate for looking at and to yourself versus looking outward to others. And that's sort of the reverse theme of what we've been doing so far and what we've been discussing so far. However, it sort of makes sense because it's sort of a backwards situation. So currently in the culture, the idea is if things are wrong in your life, or something is unfair, or going different than you want it to go, we sort of take our vision and put it on the collective and say, well, society is not taking care of me like they should be, or society is not functioning as it should be. And so if society is not taking care of me, then whatever goes wrong in my life is not my fault. Now, again, nobody would say that. They wouldn't put it that way. But they will say, well, I got to do what I got to do because society isn't taking care of me. Or I'm being oppressed. Or I'm being, the deck is stacked against me for society. Society is functioning in a way that makes it impossible for me to succeed, and so I have to resort to other methods, right? Or I have to, at the very least, rail against society and say, you need to fix this in my life. Okay, we see this in poverty, right? Well, the government isn't taking care of me. There should be more programs to take care of the poor or people who are struggling like me. And so, we need to change this system. I need to rail against, what's going on in society so that I can get taken care of better. The rich aren't sharing their wealth, so that's why I'm living in poverty, and so I need to be able to pursue the things that I want to do at society's expense or at the rich's expense, right? Because they have all this wealth and I don't. Or it could be, morally, society's oppressing me. I want to live however I want to live, but I'm being oppressed, so it's causing me depression and anxiety, and therefore you need to change your views of what is morally wrong and right to express what I believe to be morally wrong and right so that I can feel comfortable in society, right? So like if you have different sexual desires than what's traditional between a man and a woman, and there are people who hold that sexual desire is not right or morally or normal or whatever, well, you feel oppressed. You feel like because they don't agree with you in the way you're choosing to live, then you feel hurt by that, okay? And you feel like society's coming after you, and therefore you have to, you feel depressed or anxious, and so, you have to disparage society in the way it is, and you have to go after. And so there is some truth to that. There is some truth in that people are often treated badly if they think differently. There is some truth in that people aren't taking care of each other like they should, okay? But a lot of people want to put primary responsibility on the woes of their life on society as a collective, okay? Not only that, but a lot of people's, they're not taking care of themselves in the way they should be. Now, I'm not trying to victim shame if people truly are victims of harassment or hatred and things like that, okay? Then obviously that needs to stop. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with advocating against those things, okay? But what I'm saying is to take it further, and to, if you're refusing to get a job because you think you should be taken care of, which there are people like that, okay? If you're, drug addicted and you're struggling with that and you're blaming somebody else, right? Or if you're just lazy maybe and you just don't want to work, you don't want to get your own life in order, and you turn around and blame society, okay? That's more what I'm talking about. And see, that's more common than it ever was now, okay? Because a lot of society's focus is on the collective, in what the collective should be doing for me, okay? And so what I want to do is kind of go over that and discuss the thought process behind that and maybe a better alternative, okay? A lot of people, when their lives are not in order, right, and maybe there's things that they can do to get their lives in order, they have a tendency to turn around and focus on social issues, okay? Feeding the poor, providing for the poor, or immigration, or what about these poor souls at the border? What about people starving in the streets or homeless people, okay? The thing is, though, before you focus on that, maybe you should turn around and spend some time focusing on your own life and how you can get it in order, okay? And again, this is sort of opposite of what we've been talking about so far. I've been talking about focusing on others instead of yourself, okay? But thing is, I have said in past videos, you do need to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of others, okay? I can't, if I don't get enough sleep, if I don't get enough to eat, then I can't turn around and take care of my kids, right? I'm too tired. I don't have the strength, the bodily strength to do that. Now, obviously, if you're starving, yeah, I'm going to give my kids the food over taking it myself. But when you have enough to go around, you do need to take care of yourself in order to better take care of your family, okay? And it's sort of the same idea, is before you run off joining protests about how people are being treated in society, maybe it's a good idea if you make sure that you're taking care of your own business and your own life. Maybe find a job, maybe start paying your rent on time with that money. Maybe get off the drugs, maybe go to rehab if you have to, maybe try and reconcile with your children's father or mother, maybe try to reconcile with your estranged family or friends of yours that you're not forgiving or that have some issue against you. Maybe try to build your life back up before you start focusing on societal issues, because that's a distraction sometimes. Sometimes you're just doing that. Some of you are just doing that to try to give some meaning to your life, because your life is sort of in shambles, and that's not going to work, okay? Because when your own life is falling apart, okay, simply using societal issues as a distraction is just that. It's a distraction, okay? Watching a movie in your house when your heat is shut off and you're freezing cold, I mean, watching the movie is not going to fix the problem, right? You're just distracting yourself with things that aren't directly affecting what is going to help you the most, okay? So getting your own life in order, will help you out. It'll actually help your life. Focusing on your own life as opposed to societal issues will actually help you get things done. But two, it'll put you in a position where you can do things for society. All right, because if your life's falling apart, there's not much you can do for society. You can't give anything away because you don't have it yourself. All right, so maybe take some time, instead of distracting yourself with issues out there, turn around and get your own house in order, and then you can help out getting the world in order, so to speak, okay? So what does the Bible have to say about this? Well, it says a lot about personal responsibility. In fact, almost the whole of the Bible talks about personal responsibility, okay? In Deuteronomy 24, Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 18, all those places talk about taking responsibility or bearing the responsibility of your own sin, of your own life, of the bad things you do, okay? No one else bears that responsibility. Deuteronomy 24 talks about, the fathers will not be punished for the sins of the sons will not be punished for the sins of the father. It's basically saying, when you sin, when you screw up, you're the one who bears the responsibility, okay? 2 Corinthians 5:10, Paul talks about each one of us will sit before the judgment seat of Christ and be judged for the good and the bad that we've done. That's personal responsibility. Nobody's going to sit before God and take your blame for you unless you're in Christ. Christ has done that for you if you're trusting in him, but no other mortal person is going to be able to do that. Not only that, but you're not going to be able to say to God, hey, yeah, I know I stole, I know I cheated, I know I was a pretty rotten person to other people, but society made me that way. It's their fault. No, God's not going to accept that. And so no matter how you are treated, you are still responsible for how you treat others, okay? Now, I'm not really addressing mental illness. I'm not addressing things that maybe some people can't help, like Alzheimer's and degenerative brain diseases like that. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are capable of discernment, capable of making functional decisions, things like that. And a lot of times in our culture, people get treated badly, and then they think that gives them an excuse to treat others badly. Or they feel like society is not providing for them, so, nobody's taking care of me, so I'm just going to be rotten to everybody else, right? And they may not say that, but they certainly act that way. And, you're not going to be able to sit before God when you die and say, society made me the way I was. Yeah, I was rotten. No, you're going to bear that responsibility yourself, okay? You have capacity, you have the ability to choose how you're going to interact with people, provided you're somewhat healthy. All right. So, not only that, but in 1 Timothy 5:8, it talks about providing for your own house. So it says, if you don't provide for your own house, talking about your wife, your kids, your immediate family, those in your circle, you are worse than an unbeliever. What he's saying is, it's not society's It's not society's responsibility. It's not even the church's responsibility to provide for you. It's your responsibility to provide for you and yours, okay? And the truth is, if you know, and again, we're not talking about people who are disabled and can't work for themselves. That's actually what the church is for, okay? They're there, part of what they're there for, aside to worship God and to live in a way that reflects Him, and to help other people. And so, you know, if you can't work, if you're disabled or injured in some way, that's what the church is for, is to help take care of you. But if you're capable of it, it's your responsibility to take care of you and yours, not the government's, not the church. It's yours. Like I said, 1 Timothy 5:8, if you don't provide for your own household, you're worse than an unbeliever. And then if you go back a little bit in the same book, 1 Timothy 3:5, if someone does not manage his own household well, how can he care for God's church? And that's what we were talking about, is you have to get your life in order. You have to get your life together in order to be able to turn around and help others. So, you know, if you can't discipline your kids right, if you can't provide for them financially, because you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, you're not taking that responsibility on yourself to provide for your family. And again, I know it's hard, especially for single parents, okay? But we're talking about doing the best you can. We're not talking about being God and making something out of nothing, okay? We're talking about take your abilities, your skills, your energy, your strength, and do the best that you can to provide for your family. And again, asking for help from the church if there's situations where you can't make ends meet. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? I'm not trying to make people feel guilty for that. But if you're not even trying, you're just turning around and blaming society for the way that you are, the way you're not taking care of your family, the way you're treating other people, that's a problem, all right? So you see this actually in a picture in the Old Testament in Leviticus, right? There was instructions for the priests. Always for sin, something innocent has to die. That's the way it's set up. That's the way God set it up. And ultimately, that's a picture of Christ, the innocent person, God-man, dying in the place of sinners, okay? But a picture of this from the Old Testament before Jesus came was the Levitical priesthood. And the priests, the high priest, had to make a sacrifice for himself first. And then for his own sins, so that he could be forgiven. And then he went and made a sacrifice for the people. Okay, so the idea is your own sins need to be forgiven. You need to be right with God first, and then you turn around and make the atonement, or take care of other people. All right, so that's the two things we want to kind of sum up. Is one, for the way you treat people, taking care of yourself and your family, again, provided you're able to, that responsibility is on you, not on society. Are there things wrong in society? Yes. Is there a time when we should stand up and try to right the wrongs of society? Of course there is. Okay, I got nothing wrong with that. But first, you want to take care of your own life. You want to take care of your own responsibilities. You want to provide for your family. You want to work as much as you can, as much as you're able to provide for your family. You want to make sure that your character is right, that you're treating others right despite how you've been treated. Okay, because God's not going to accept the excuse, well, I was treated this way, so I turn around and treated people rotten. No, that's not the way it works. You're responsible for your own life. And then you can turn around. Once you get your own life in order, then you're in a position to turn around and help create change for others. Okay? But don't use that as a distraction from your own life. All right? And that's pretty much what society, where we're at now, is a lot of people want to blame their problems on the things around them, their society, and then they think that entitles them to act whatever they want, whichever way they want to other people, or to not work as hard as they could, or not work at all, because society should be taking care of them. And the Bible says that's not right. You got a responsibility to your own life, to take care of yourself, and then to take care of others. And then you can turn around once that's in order and you learn to take care of yourself and your own household. Then you're in a position to maybe create change in your society around you. All right. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that we can start thinking about how we can best take care of ourselves and those in our immediate families, so that we can get our house in order, and then we can turn around and help others and help society to flourish as a whole. Okay. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate the view, and if you got comments or questions, go ahead and leave them. We're gonna be kind of shifting gears here in the next couple videos, so I hope you stick with me. God bless. Love you all.